Okay, guys, here's what I want to talk about right now. We're all familiar, or we should be familiar, with the various tools available, Jungle Scout being one that's super popular, to help you select items to sell on Amazon. A way to kind of get around using a tool like Jungle Scout, and Jungle Scout's wonderful, by the way, I use it, but I don't use it for everything, and I'm not dependent upon it. If Jungle Scout were to go away, my Amazon business would still be thriving. So, if you are interested in Jungle Scout, there's a link below. Go ahead and order Jungle Scout. I think it's a great educational tool, and I think it helps you work through the selection process, but I don't think it's something that you have to have forever. One of the things that people talk about a lot is private labeling. Private labeling is a great thing. I private label currently probably about 12 or 14 different products. I'm very much in favor of private labeling. I will probably private label more in the future. But with that said, there are a lot of ways to differentiate your product or products that you're selling on Amazon without going through the time and trouble of setting up a private label and a private brand. You can be very successful on Amazon ordering from Alibaba or from whatever supplier you choose to use. Typically these suppliers are, set up in the East. They're Chinese suppliers for the most part. You can be very successful selling those products exactly as packaged and exactly as they come either to you or exactly as they're shipped straight to a Amazon warehouse if you just follow a few simple steps. It amazes me that people who are doing this, who keep complaining about competition, who keep complaining about their inability to really get things moving and start making serious money, continue to fail at the most simple of tasks. And what that is, if you're going to get an item from Alibaba and it comes to you with selling points, selling features, a sheet that lists just bullet points of this item, and it's in, I say this kindly, it's in broken English. In some cases it's completely unreadable. It makes no sense. It's just word salad. How many times have you seen, and I know I've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these products, where the people who are selling the product post that word salad, post those bullet points as the item description without changing a single letter? Come on, people. Okay? Set yourself apart from the crowd. Take the 10 minutes or the 15 minutes or the 20 minutes. If you can't translate what you have, just rewrite it. Start from scratch. Come up with your own 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 bullet points depending on the item that you're selling and how much explanation you think it needs. Write it in English. Have somebody proofread it behind you to make sure that you've spelled everything correctly and that your grammar is reasonably accurate. And use that. That will move you ahead of 90% of the sellers on Amazon that are selling a generic item. Okay, that will help you tremendously. You will see an immediate impact on your sales. This is not rocket science. Okay, take some high quality photos. Again, not rocket science. Most of you have a cell phone that can take photographs more than suitable for Amazon, for Facebook, for YouTube, whatever social media platform you choose to use. Your cell phone is more than adequate to produce photographs of a quality level that will help you sell that product. So put up a minimum of 4 to 5 photos of the product. Put up a photo of the box. Unless it's coming in a generic white box or a brown box, put up a photo of the box showing the product in the box. Put up 4 to 5 photos of the product itself. Translate or rewrite entirely the product description, and you can be very, very successful selling a generic product without private labeling without the time and the expense and the hassle that goes into it. It's not that big of a deal, but it is something. And honestly, if you're struggling with the simple task of taking a few product photographs and rewriting the item description, then private labeling is probably a couple of steps beyond where you're at right now anyway. So get the basics down right, and you're going to find that the success you've been looking for is not as elusive as you might have thought. You're going to see an immediate impact in your sales, and you're going to do better with less effort than probably you've been expending trying to just post stuff and continue to try and advertise things. So bear that in mind in terms of your product sales. The other thing I want to talk to you about is this. Instead of private labeling, where you're trying to differentiate yourself from other people selling a similar product, you're just trying to put a label on there and create a brand. Another thing to consider is to sell products that other people aren't selling. This is what I did when I started selling on Amazon 16 or 17 years ago. I'm in North Carolina. Now, this wasn't my thought process at the time, but when I realized what I had done, and what I did was I started making money on Amazon. When I realized that I was making money, I said, okay, I want to figure out what my path to success is, or what it was. And what I did is I started selling products that were produced here in North Carolina. Products that were, to some degree unique. If you lived in California, you weren't going to find products like this. If you lived in Chicago, you weren't going to find products like this. And so in a sense, I created kind of a private label, if you will, just by going to a unique item, one that someone in another part of the country could not buy easily. To this day, I still market at any given time probably 8 to 10, maybe a dozen items that are somewhat unique to North Carolina. I'll give you an example. We sell fish breader through Amazon Groceries. This is fish breader. You can go to the company's website and buy it, but a lot of people, they're not on the company's website. They're on Amazon. So they order from Amazon. It's worked out very, very well. North Carolinians in other parts of the country see this fish bread on Amazon and they buy it. I've got customers in California. I have customers in Washington, in Oregon, and Idaho, North and South Dakota, Florida, anywhere you can imagine. I have customers who swear that this is the best fish breader in the world. It's very, very good. I'm glad they like it, and I'm glad they keep buying it from me. I live an hour away from a part of North Carolina that's famous for its ceramics and its pottery. What am I trying to say? The arts and crafts people who do pottery. There are hundreds of pottery shops where you can go in and watch people make these pottery items. And back in about 2003, I bought a few dozen. I'm not even sure what they're called, but they hold butter. And it looks sort of like, it looks like an inverted cup. You pack the butter in there, and then you put the butter into this holder where the base of it sits in water to keep the butter fresh and keep bugs out of the butter. But it's a unique item. I'd never seen anything like it. Apparently that's how butter was served 100 and 200 years ago. And I was able to buy these things for about $6 a piece. To this day, we're still selling them on Amazon for about $30 each. We sell quite a few of them. I know that the gentleman who makes these, and I've actually got 2 potters now that do these for me, slightly different designs, but they're very happy to have the business. It's an ongoing source of revenue for them. It's an ongoing source of revenue for me. They love it when I buy 4, 5, 6 cases at a time. Look for things like that. One of the first products I ever saw on Amazon were socks. I lived near a sock factory that had been in business for 150 years. It's called Rollane Sock Factory. They had a factory outlet store there. I could go and buy a dozen socks for $1, or a dozen pairs of socks for $1. Some of these socks were really nice. I mean, there were some dress socks, but I was buying like hunting socks, and they kept my feet warm. They dried quickly when they got wet. I thought it was a really great sock. I wore them for years, and I started selling those on Amazon. People went crazy. You know, my cost, initial direct cost, like I said, was about 10 to 15 cents per pair of socks. These were, technically they were seconds. Never understood what made them seconds. They looked like they were, you know, perfectly produced. But I had a reliable source that was only a few miles from my house. I started buying them and selling them, and I sold thousands and thousands and thousands of pairs of socks over a period of 5 or 6 years. Ultimately, this factory went out of business finally, or they moved to Bangladesh or China or wherever people make socks these days. I was sorry to see them go, but I just want to use that as an example of the things that may be in your backyard that there'd be a larger demand for if you sold it online. I wouldn't necessarily suggest that you walk into some artisan shop or some craftsperson shop and say, hey, I'd like to take your products and sell them online, because you may just give them the idea that they should do that, and then you're competing with them. But it's not a secret. You can, you know, certainly these people have no control over how you choose to resell their products for the most part. I mean, I guess they could refuse to sell to you, but I just want to give you a different perspective than what I think you're getting from a lot of other people talking about selling products on Amazon. Finding products doesn't have to involve you sitting in front of a computer doing product research hour after hour after hour. It doesn't have to involve you ordering something from China. It doesn't have to involve you doing private labeling. There are products available probably in your backyard that would do very, very well if exposed to a broader audience, and that broader audience is Amazon. So look around. If you have some examples, put in the comments below. I'd like to hear what you found in your backyard. I know that in the seminars that I do, we've had a lot of people out of the U.S. Southwest, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, selling a lot of really interesting stuff. Again, those are areas that have a lot of craftspeople and a lot of artisans doing various things. And just like I did with the pottery, some people out there have been very successful in selling things that are being produced in their backyard. But I'd like to hear what you all have to say. Please put some information in the comments below, ask some questions. Let's start a conversation about this, because I think this is an area that's greatly overlooked. This gives you a chance to have really good markups. It gives you a chance to have a very short and very secure supply line. You're not shipping something from 12,000 miles away. It gives you a chance to help out potentially a local producer. It's a win-win situation for everyone. So if you haven't done so already, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.